fellow golfers, we are told that an in-to-in club path will produce a straight shot provided the club face is square. And a lot has been suggested to golfers in recent years to get that face square. In fact, there is a lot of information being imparted to golfers about correct matchups for the purpose of getting a square face and a correct club path. So, what are matchups? They are supposed to exist between the grip, posture, or ball position at setup, wrist and club face positions at the top of the backswing, and release styles at impact, amongst other ideas. Sometimes golfers are told that if they have an open club face at the top, they might need some hip slide to allow time for the club face to square up. Or they might be told that an open club face requires a hands arm release or a rolling over of the forearms, while a closed club face requires more of a body release with quiet hands and arms. These ideas have become rather exaggerated in recent years, with golfers being told to look like this to prevent forearm rollover. In my opinion, these matchups are not anatomically sound and also make the swing much too complicated and difficult for a golfer to manage without several downswing thoughts. As we know from motor control, such thoughts interfere with the body's motor plan for a movement and thus produce a great deal of inconsistency even for very skilled golfers. It's really not all that complicated to get a correct path and with it a square club face. Moreover, it's to me very ironic how the golf world insists it's the body that moves the arms, then spends so much time on irrelevant things like wrist or club face positions at address and at the top. The poor hands are the last thing to arrive at the ball, but are often blamed for things that happened much earlier in the downswing to other body parts. In my 32 years of teaching golf, I have never looked at a person's grip or their club or shaft positions at any phase of the golf swing. It really is not necessary because if specific torso parts are positioned correctly, it is impossible for the arms and in turn the wrists to misbehave. Only one thing is required to get an ideal swing path, which should be in to a long to in, and with it also ensure a square club face, whether for a short chip shot as seen here or for a full swing. The shoulders should be very slightly close to the target line at impact and the spine should be very slightly tilted away from target. An open shoulder line will produce an excessively inside path past impact, and an excessively tilted away from target spine will produce a very outside path past impact. Such a position of the shoulder line and spine is the only way to guarantee an inside to a long to inside swing path, and in fact prevents an incorrect club face position too, because if the torso is correctly positioned, the forearms cannot roll over too early. So what prevents such a position from occurring at impact? There are many reasons, which could be at setup at the top of the backswing or in the downswing, and they should form the basis of anatomical matchups. The reasons could be anything from a setup that is open at the shoulders to some types of takeaway to certain positions of the arms at the top of the backswing. Today I am going to discuss how already at takeaway the likelihood of an inside path for the club is greatly reduced in certain positions. The following three movements will prevent the torso from being suitably positioned at impact. In this first style of takeaway, the trail shoulder and arm are higher than their lead side counterparts. It would require a golfer to move a typically very slow moving heavy body part, the torso, to drop the trail side down to allow the desired club path, even in a swing as small as a chip shot. For this reason, the trail shoulder, arm and forearm must always be lower than their lead side counterparts to produce the desired torso position at impact. In this second type of takeaway, When a golfer attempts to cock the wrists, there will always be some trail wrist extension or backward bend. Because of the unique movements that take place when both hands are locked onto an object such as a golf grip, this results in the trail forearm and shoulder becoming pronated and internally rotated respectively. Then, as the trail arm moves towards the ball in the downswing, the shoulder internal rotation increases and it is accompanied by scapular protraction because of the many common muscle fibers of the two movements. It is this protraction which prevents the shoulders from being slightly closed at impact. Wrist cock should always be minimal in the backswing and never commence early in the backswing, that is, during takeaway. Finally, even if there is no early wrist set, when the trail elbow points backwards or away from the target line, that too results in an internally rotated trail shoulder and once again produces a protracted trail scapula in the downswing, resulting in an open shoulder line at impact. The effect of all three of these positions is exacerbated even with a mere chip shot when the trail shoulder is abducted or moved away from the body considerably. That is because the abduction stretches three important shoulder muscles, the latissimus dorsi, the pectoralis major, and the teres major. All three are shoulder adductors and internal rotators, and as they become more stretched, they contract more powerfully to not just bring the arm back close to the golfer's body, but also to powerfully internally rotate the trail shoulder joint. And as I mentioned earlier, it is that shoulder internal rotation which always goes with shoulder blade protraction, which prevents the shoulders from being closed to the target line at impact. Please note that abduction of the trail shoulder is important during the backswing for the creation of greater downswing club speed because it generates a longer lever arm, but it must be made without changing the spine angle of the torso from address to impact. The concepts discussed in this post are all very important ones and require some understanding of musculoskeletal anatomy to fully appreciate. In the meantime, the golf swing should be a really simple set of minimal movements, and anyone who says otherwise does not have an adequate knowledge of the structure of the human body and the very specific functional capabilities of its joints.